Are you wanting high-speed internet but don't have access to PUD fiber? Try Sky-Fi high-speed wireless internet from LocalTel. Call 888-8888 today. It's time for NCW Life News on the NCW Life channel. The latest from the Wenatchee Valley and North Central Washington with Steve Hare, Grant Olson, and sports with Eric Granstrom.
Good evening and welcome to NCW Life News. I'm Grant Olson. Before we get to today's top stories, let's take a quick look outside our smoky weather window. And yeah, it hasn't improved a whole lot from yesterday. I think we can see the Columbia River just a little bit better than we could yesterday, but still a lot of haze and smoke in our area. But as we take a look ahead into Thursday and Friday, we will see an improvement in that as a weak cold front and trough move through our area. We will see the smoke and haze kind of hang around on Thursday and then improve late Thursday into Friday. And then for Friday and the weekend, cooler temperatures with, yes, even a chance for a sprinkle or two. We'll talk more about that coming up a little bit later on in your weather forecast. And now a few of the stories we're following for you tonight. A march is held in honor of Matthew Folden, focusing on the De-Escalate Washington Initiative 940 campaign. The cold case murder trial continues, and Governor Inslee visits the Jolly Mountain Fire Base Camp. Later on, we'll have sports, your weather forecast, and our features story today. But first, the investigation is wrapping up in the police officer-involved shooting that resulted in the death of a Wenatchee man. A news release issued yesterday afternoon by the Special Investigation Unit outlined the sequence of events as they unfolded outside an Albertsons grocery store where Matthew Folden was shot and killed by Officer Albert Gonzalez. The report says the officer was the first to respond to a 911 call reporting a man screaming and yelling, walking around with a knife in the store's parking lot. Gonzalez maintained that Folden was the aggressor, and the store's surveillance video and 4 witnesses corroborated the officer's claim. Investigators say Gonzalez was heard on his radio commanding Folden to get on the ground and then fired 3 shots. Gonzalez told investigators Folden was still holding the knife after being shot, but dropped it on the officer's order. The investigation is ongoing and, according to Chelan County Under Sheriff Jason Matthews, could last another month. Around 75 people braved smoke-filled skies to take to the streets of downtown Wenatchee earlier today and march in honor of Matt Folden. The march was also an opportunity for supporters and organizers to push new legislation called Initiative 940 De-Escalate Washington. Kenzie Converse, organizer of the march, says in light of the incidents surrounding the death of Matt Folden, law officers need to be trained on how to defuse, not intensify, a life and death situation.
So Matt Folden, who was shot 3 times in the chest about a month and a half ago, is a very good friend of mine and the majority of the people here. We have a reason to believe that he didn't need to be killed, and it fell impeccably with the timing of De-Escalate Washington, the initiative that is trying to be passed on to the ballots. De-Escalate Washington basically promotes having more training of de-escalation tactics and mental health training in the police force so that police officers shoot less and do more in terms of helping people that need to be helped. So this march is basically in this small town. It's our attempt to bridge citizens and police officers together to be on the same page.
A petition was also circulated at the event in support of Initiative 940, and the peaceful march also featured various speakers and live music. Witness testimony ended today in the Swaim murder trial. The jury heard closing arguments Wednesday afternoon after receiving instructions from Chelan County Superior Court Judge Leslie Allen. 61-year-old Bernard Swaim and his former wife Dawn Marie Souls are accused of first-degree murder in the 1982 death of Stephen Smith, whom Souls had divorced prior to a marriage to Swaim. Souls was the prosecution's star witness who identified Swaim as Smith's killer.
Keep your mouth shut, he told her. But she did. And finally she came forward with what happened to Mr. Smith after years and years. This is a custody case. If you can't get custody one way, get custody the other way. At the close of this evidence, I will ask you to find Mr. Swaim guilty of murder in the first degree for the killing of Steve Smith. Thank you.
Soul's statements to investigators was cited as instrumental in the reopening of the 35-year-old cold case murder. Soul's testimony was called into question by defense attorney Nick Yedinak, who brought forward witnesses, including another former spouse who claimed Souls had a history of being untruthful.
Logical way, based on the lack of evidence, the lost evidence, the lack of credibility, that you can go back and say, the state in this case has proved their case against my client beyond a reasonable doubt. Without a doubt, he did it. My client's mistake was getting involved in Miss Souls, with Miss Souls. And I'd ask you to go back, look at your notes, discuss this matter, and come back and find my client not guilty.
The jury went into deliberations following closing arguments and received final instructions from Judge Allen. Wildfires burning in Montana, Idaho, Oregon, southern Alberta, British Columbia, and here at home in Washington have surrounded us, which has ultimately led to our very poor air quality. Visibility in the Wenatchee Valley yesterday was about 2 blocks with obscured views of the foothills and an orangish-red sun. Wildfire smoke contains very small particles and gases, including carbon monoxide, which can get into your eyes, throat, and lungs, where they can cause health problems. Carol McCormick, Personal Health Administrator at Chelan Douglas Health, tells us who is most at risk.
We are very concerned about young children and the elderly and people who have lung and heart problems, because this will increase any of the issues that people who are having health problems have. And for little children, they are, of course, breathing at a much higher rate than an adult. So they're taking in more particulate matter into their lungs. So the health effects are worse for little children. And then, of course, the elderly are often compromised. So we're worried about them the most.
Health officials also add that inhaling smoke is not good for anyone, even healthy people. So all area residents should stay indoors if possible and to avoid physical exertion outdoors. Coming up, Governor Inslee visits base camp at the Jolly Mountain Fire yesterday. We'll have your fire update for incidents around north central Washington, and a train trestle catches fire in the Kashmir area. I'm Grant Olson, and you're watching NCW Life News.
No matter what your age or ailment, when you wake up each day with a sense of purpose, life has meaning and joy.
Just wait a while, it'll get in the hole somewhere.
Helping you do this is our purpose. Highgate Senior Living, each day to the fullest.
The best thing about my life right now is
me.
Governor Jay Inslee was in Cle Elum yesterday for a tour of the Jolly Mountain Fire. The fire has burned over 23,000 acres of timberland and continues to threaten homes in Kittitas County. The governor held a news conference following his visit with fire commanders. He maintains that the current rash of wildfires around the Northwest are tied to global warming.
And I got to tell you, we ought to have the president come out here who's denied climate change and smell this smoke and see this ash and see what it's doing to our forests and our state. And we got to fight this. We're fighting it today in these forest fires. I think it's time to start fighting climate change so it doesn't destroy our forests in the long term. And I say that because it's time for us to come to grips with this real problem. And the real problem is drought and heat and climate change that is setting the stage to destroy the forests of the state of Washington. And I'm not taking it lying down. I declared a state of emergency today to fight these fires short term, but we got to have a strategy to fight them long term so that these forests don't go up on smoke. We've had it with ash in Seattle or anywhere else.
There will be a community meeting regarding the Jolly Mountain Fire Thursday at 6 p.m. at Walter Strom Middle School in Cle Elum. An update now on area wildfires. The Jack Creek Fire, burning 15 miles southwest of Leavenworth, has now burned 2,154 acres. On Tuesday, the fire moved south up the Jack Creek drainage towards Stewart Pass. Okanagan-Wenatchee National Forest officials have implemented a trail and area closure in the Enchantments Permit area and the Alpine Lakes Wilderness. Jack Creek fire officials say the fire is burning in the right place at the right time with the right resources for the right reason, meaning the Jack Creek fire is playing its natural ecological role. The Uno Peak fire continues to burn along steep slopes of the east shore of Lake Chelan on United States Forest Service lands. The fire is located about 15 air miles from Manson and has now burned 6,159 acres. The fire began on August 30th and continues to burn in timber, heavy downed wood, brush, and grass. Aggressive firefighting will be employed today to control the spread of the fire toward Manson. Priority will also be placed on protecting campground facilities and homes in the direct vicinity of the fire. The Uno Peak fire is currently 1% contained. Meanwhile, the largest fire currently burning in Washington is the 95,000-acre Diamond Creek fire. It's burning within the Pasayten Wilderness and 8-mile drainage approximately 12 air miles north of Mazama. The fire has been burning since July 23rd in extreme terrain, which has limited the direct response actions that might normally be taken to put out a fire. The huge blaze is 65% contained as ground crews and helicopters continue to protect nearby homes, communities, and various structures in the area. A train trestle caught fire yesterday in the Kashmir area. It started around 4:45 in the afternoon in the area of River Street. Crews from multiple fire districts responded and had the fire contained in short order. According to incident commanders, damage was limited to the trestle structure and no homes were threatened. Sunset Highway was reopened, but River Street remained closed overnight. Burlington Northern Santa Fe crews were in the process of evaluating damage to rail cars and crossing. The cause is under investigation. 5th District Congressman Dave Reichert has announced he will not seek re-election in 2018. He posted on his Facebook page this morning that he's decided to pursue new opportunities to serve the country and the American people. He added that his decision has been difficult and that he looks forward to spending time with his family. Reichert's decision leaves open the race for 5th Congressional District representing King, Pierce, Kittitas, and Chelan counties. You're watching NCW Life News. Coming up next, your sports update followed by today's feature story. That and much more still to come on NCW Life News. Stay with us.
Every golfer aims to play their best, and smart golfers turn to the Golfer's Edge to get the Golfer's Edge. PGA professional Ed Payne has you covered from tee to green. You can work on your swing or play 18 in air-conditioned comfort on the golf simulator. Tanya's Corner has all the apparel the golfer needs at sale prices. And Ed can even rebuild your favorite set of clubs or custom make you a brand new set. Ask how you can qualify for a free 30-minute lesson at the Golfer's Edge on Mission between Kittitas and Yakima. And now it's a sports update on the NCW Life channel.
I'm Grant Olson filling in for Eric Grandstrom. Cameron Maben had one of Houston's 2 hits in the game last night against the Seattle Mariners, but it was the one that mattered as the Astros won it 6 straight down in the Mariners 3-1 at Safeco Field. Back to the Les Schwab scoreboard we go. Mariners Maben hit a 3-2 pitch off reliever Emilio Pagan for the Astros' first hit of the game in the 7th to plate 2 and break a 1-1 tie. Prior to the 7th, Seattle starter Ariel Miranda gutted through 6 hitless innings on the mound, allowing just 1 run on a bases-loaded sacrifice fly in the 3rd. Manager Scott Service had high praise for Miranda's efforts.
Good pitching out there tonight, no doubt. I thought Ariel Miranda, pitched his heart out tonight. He really did. He gave us everything he had. He tweaked his ankle there earlier in the game, and he hung in there. 112 pitches, I think it was, and used a lot of off-speed pitches tonight. But really, tremendous effort by him. And offensively, I thought we put a lot of good at bats on Verlander. We just didn't get the big hit, and they did in the 7th inning when Maben squared up the 3-2 fastball, to put them on top. But again, I thought our guys really competed well played ball game. We just didn't get the big hit with 2 outs, and the at-bats we had against Verlander, I thought we were right on him. Robbie obviously was seeing the ball really good against him. He's obviously he's done a lot in his career, and guys know that, especially our veteran guys who have faced him a bunch and know that you got to bring your A game. And I thought we did tonight. 2-out rallies and just couldn't get that big 2-out hit.
Justin Verlander went 6 innings in his Astros debut after being traded from Houston from Detroit. He allowed 1 run on 6 hits with 7 strikeouts. Kyle Seager homered for the 2nd consecutive game, and Robinson Cano went 3 for 4 with 3 singles. Service was asked if he was frustrated to have a guy go out and throw a no-hitter for 6 innings, allow just 2 hits in the entire game, and still not get a win.
I think, like I said, getting the homestand, you got to take it a day at a time. You got to come out and play a good baseball game, which I thought we did yesterday. I thought we did again tonight. But, you do need to have, clutch hit here, big rally, put a crooked number up there. It's a good squad over there. We know that. We've played them a lot this year. We just haven't been able to put the big rally together. But, I'll take our chances with our club. We can continue to compete like that every night. We're going to be in this thing all the way to the end. Just didn't happen the last 2 nights.
Seattle will try to salvage the final game of the series tonight at 7:10 when they'll send Andrew Moore to face Lance McCullers. I'm Grant Olson, and that's NCW Life Sports. Chelan County Fair opens its gates tomorrow at 10 a.m. for a full weekend of fun in Kashmir. Rod Kuhl, a member of the Fair Board, stopped by Wake Up Wenatchee Valley with Dan Kuntz to talk more about the youth involved in the annual event.
I don't think a lot of people really understand the kind of effort that the youth that are involved in, say, FFA, the Future Farmers of America, put in to raise their livestock. It's a lot of work.
These kids, they spend a lot of money on their livestock to begin with. If they've had steers, they've had them since last November, so they have almost a full year into the project. And then pigs and sheep and goats come, late April, early May, and they raise them all the way through fair. And it teaches them a lot about, as an FFA advisor, push livestock projects, and it's more than just raising an animal and keeping records and doing that. It teaches you that somebody else relies on you to survive. So it's really important about relationships for later on in life as well. So some important life lessons get learned, and these kids, probably aren't going to go be pig farmers, but they're going to be involved in the agriculture industry somewhere here in Chelan County, which is kind of the backbone of our economy. So, these are kind of kids you should come out and support.
And Future Farmers of America has been around forever.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned before, not necessarily everybody who's involved in FFA is going to be a farmer, but they learn a very important skill set.
Oh yeah, the people skills you learn from all the leaderships, competitions and so forth are great in any career that you enter, but just the knowledge that you have, being able to think on your feet and problem solve and all that kind of stuff really helps kids out down the road.
And it's amazing, especially over the last, say, 10, 12 years, raising your own livestock just in your backyard. Zoning codes may apply, but people are starting to raise roosters and chickens again.
Oh, yeah.
It kind of fell by the wayside, but it's now coming back.
It's a real popular thing to do, is to raise your own, raise as much as your own animals as you can, or buy local. And, the fair is a perfect example. You can come out and meet the kid and meet his animal. It's food with a face, and right there. So, and then you can come back on Saturday to the auction, Saturday morning, 10 o'clock, and purchase that animal, and then have it custom cut and put in little white packages just the way you want it, and you probably won't eat any better meat than that.
No, it's as good as it gets.
Tune in to the NCW Life channel tomorrow morning for Wake Up Wenatchee Valley, live from the fairgrounds with Dan Kuntz at 7 a.m. We'll be back in just a moment with the recap of some of today's stories and your complete local weather forecast right after this. And now a recap of some of our top stories. The investigation is wrapping up in the police officer-involved shooting that resulted in the death of a Wenatchee man. A news release issued yesterday afternoon by the Special Investigation Unit outlined the sequence of events as they unfolded outside an Albertsons grocery store where Matthew Folden was shot and killed by Officer Albert Gonzalez. The report says the officer was the first to respond to a 911 call reporting a man screaming and yelling, walking around with a knife in the store's parking lot. Gonzalez maintained that Folden was the aggressor, and the store's surveillance video and 4 witnesses corroborated the officer's claim. Investigators say Gonzalez was heard on his radio commanding Folden to get on the ground and then fired 3 shots. Gonzalez told investigators Folden was still holding the knife after being shot, but dropped it on the officer's order. The investigation is ongoing, and according to Chelan County Undersheriff Jason Matthews, could last another month. Witness testimony ended today in the Swaim murder trial. The jury heard closing arguments Wednesday afternoon after receiving instructions from Chelan County Superior Court Judge Leslie Allen. 61-year-old Bernard Swaim and his former wife Dawn Marie Souls are accused of first-degree murder in the 1982 death of Stephen Smith, whom Souls had divorced prior to her marriage to Swaim. Souls was the prosecutor's star witness who identified Swaim as Smith's killer.
Keep your mouth shut, he told her. But she didn't. And finally she came forward with what happened to Mr. Smith after years and years. This is a custody case. If you can't get custody one way, get custody the other way. At the close of this evidence, I will ask you to find Mr. Swaim guilty of murder in the first degree for the killing of Steve Smith. Thank you.
Souls' statements to investigators was cited as instrumental in the reopening of the 35-year-old case. Souls' testimony was called into question by defense attorney Nick Yedinak, who brought forward witnesses, including another former spouse who claimed Souls had a history of being untruthful.
Logical way, based on the lack of evidence, the lost evidence, the lack of credibility, that you can go back and say, the state in this case has proved their case against my client beyond a reasonable doubt. Without a doubt, he did it. My client's mistake was getting involved in Miss Souls, with Miss Souls. And I'd ask you to go back, look at your notes, discuss this matter, and come back and find my client not guilty.
The jury went into deliberations following closing arguments and received final instructions from Judge Allen. 5th District Congressman Dave Reichert has announced he will not seek re-election in 2018. He posted on his Facebook page this morning that he has decided to pursue new opportunities to serve the country and the American people. He added that his decision has been difficult and that he looks forward to spending time with his family. Reichert's decision leaves open the race for 5th Congressional District, representing King, Pierce, Kittitas, and Chelan counties. And now your weather forecast for north central Washington. But before we get to that, let's once again take a look outside our weather window and smoke-filled air all around north central Washington, ranging anywhere from unhealthy to very unhealthy and even hazardous around parts of north central Washington. That's looking down at the Columbia River. You can barely make out the George Seller Bridge way off in the distance, but things should get a little bit better tonight through Thursday. As we take a look at our satellite loop, we can notice the strong ridge of high pressure that remains anchored over southern Idaho. Because of that area of high pressure, air quality will remain between unhealthy and hazardous, with little to no improvement expected until early Friday. We are still tracking moisture that you see trickling up from the south, which should lead to some cumulus development along the Cascade Crest both tonight and Thursday afternoon. There is a slight chance that a few high base showers or thunderstorms will develop, but the threat continues to remain very low. Nonetheless, a slight chance has been maintained on the crest for Thursday afternoon into the evening hours. Thursday night through Saturday, we will see a period that will bring a change to the weather. Our current stagnant warm and smoky pattern, which should go away, which has choked the area for the past week. Models are in good agreement with the timing of this evolution, featuring a marriage of the remains of a tropical system off the California coast with the incoming Gulf of Alaska trough that's trickling down from the northwest. This conglomerated feature will approach the forecast area by Thursday evening, and that'll effectively shove the sprawling western United States ridge axis east of the region, producing noticeably cooler temperatures in our area. Then after a somewhat cool weekend, temperatures will begin to warm up again next week. Let's take a look at that forecast now. We will see mild overnight lows tonight of about 64, still very smoky out there. More haze and smoke for your Thursday, mostly cloudy too. 85 the high temperature for Thursday, and then a slight chance for sprinkles maybe late Thursday afternoon into Thursday night. That'll keep our skies mostly cloudy for Friday with 86 expected. And then our coolest day of the entire forecast period period will be on Saturday. Sunshine and 82 before we warm right back up by the first part of next week on Tuesday. Sunny skies and once again, high temperatures right around 90. Well, courtesy of the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, we leave you tonight with a video of what massive Hurricane Irma looks like from above. If you have a video of the day you'd like to see on NCW Life News, message us on our Facebook page at the NCW Life channel. And that's going to do it for our newscast tonight. For more on these stories and other news from around North Central Washington, you can find us on Facebook or our website at ncwlife.com. And remember, if you see news happening, we'd like to hear from you. You can send us an email at news@ncwlife.com or give us a call at 888-NCWL. That's 888-6295. I'm Grant Olson. Thanks for joining us and have a great night.
This has been NCW Life News on the NCW Life channel. For more news, log on to ncwlife.com, like us on Facebook, and follow NCW Life channel on Twitter.